Hello and welcome to another photo book review. This time we're going to take a look at Sakurai Reika's first photo book. Now there was a poll on Twitter of which photo book I should critique first, and you guys voted for Sakurai Reika, so this is why I am critiquing it. And if you want to keep up with these updates, then be sure to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Joshbox. There you will find all the information and what I'm up to if you're interested in that. So going right into the photo book, this is actually by the photographer Takeo Deck. I think it's Deck or Des, like December. I don't know, it's D-E-C and then a period. But he's worked with such people as Kizaki Yuria, he's worked with Mariko, he's also worked with Harupi and so many other people that are recognizable that he even does magazine work, which means he's practically shot all of the 48 girls, I guess essentially, well especially the popular ones. But this guy knows what he's doing, and we can see this in the photo book, which I will now critique. So here we have the front cover. Now, as I always say, the front cover says a lot about the book, but the back cover also says a lot. And essentially what I have to say about both of these, they're pretty good. This one's a little bit of the style that we've been seeing recently from the Nogizaka front covers, but the back is actually a little bit more interesting than the other ones I've seen. This one plays a little bit more to the innocent side compared to the other back covers we've seen before. And as we can see, the inside cover is actually her holding a camera, and the other side is her looking at the brochure. So it's a nice little sequence of photos that have to relate to each other, so that's pretty good. And of course it comes with a free poster, which is pretty big. I think it's as big as Manatsu's. I don't even think it fits in the camera. And here's the other side of it. I mean, this could like be big and just hang on your wall, really, and just show it off. Show off that Sakurai Reika to everyone. I even noticed it comes with this little nifty thing over here. Pretty sure this isn't handwritten. It's like copied and then just manufactured like this. I'm pretty sure she didn't sign this specifically, because if she did, I'd be freaking out. But let's move on to the first picture. And the first picture is this. This is with, I'm guessing, random kids over there, kind of to compare and contrast them. I mean, starting off the book like this kind of gives that tone of like, we're not in Japan anymore, we're in this country, and look, these are the regular people there. So I can see where they're going with this. Again, my mentality is start with your strongest image, finish with your second strongest. And this one, I feel like isn't as strong as some of the other images we've seen, but I will admit it does set a nice establishing tone to the photo book. I want to mention these two photos right here. This one could have been taken with a telephoto lens, that way we don't get that weird distortion. This one, for example, they did use sort of a telephoto lens, and that helps it a lot. It compresses the background, that way you don't see more of the environment, you see specifically what you want to choose. And plus these bottles over here were a nice touch to add to the book. It helps me find out like exactly what they were thinking of, like walking around the city and taking pictures at places that look cool. Now I want to mention these two photos right here because they're similar expressions, but they're completely different. This one right here is one of the best images I've seen so far in these photo books. We get that straight down the middle, which in this case really helps it because over here we see the lonely boy walking from school to some location. And over here we have the foreign girl who has this like shallow depth of field leading you to her face. This is like in focus and everything, and it's all there and it's presenting itself. But then this over here causing that like vortex of going into the face, which really is interesting to me. So I mean, you could tell this was with intention. This wasn't like a, oh hey, go stand there and I'll take a picture real quick. This is like, you waited for that moment and you took it. So major props. Now I want to talk about these two images because these two images, for me, could be in like a magazine, like even here in America. Like this is like that exotic location plus the kind of exotic girl that America likes to put together. So I could see these working really well. One thing does bother me, this horizon line is crooked. You grab that little ruler in Lightroom, straighten it out, goes and fixes itself. Not sure how wide of an angle you did take it in since the knee's cut off over here. If you couldn't straighten it out, I understand, and you had to risk this. So I mean, there's pros and cons to this. But this picture right here, having it right here instead of having her head right here, I think was a fine touch, because if her head was right here in the blown out spot, it would have distracted way too much. So again, this guy has an eye for photography. And even this one right here is thinking about it. Having this flower in the shallow depth field in the foreground, meanwhile having everything else in the background. Her mixing with it really adds like a 3D-ness to the picture. This one right here is interesting too because the actual spread of the page actually helped it, although I don't know why there's a little bit of white over here. I mean, if you would extend it a little more, you would see less of the elbow, but then that doesn't really bother as much as it being extended, then cutting it off. It's better to have it a little bit cut off while it's bent. That way she doesn't look like an amputee. But overall, I think this is a great picture. I think the wider lens actually helped it in this situation because now you're getting everything in the background. This way showing how vastly green the area is and adding to the green and the reflection and adding more detail to the photo and the story to it. And this was a nice little play on composition, kind of showing the leaves, kind of like hinting at you that like it's hiding something from you. And in this case, it's hiding the fact that she has clothes. But it's really interesting to see how its composition, especially with these lines right here, kind of like everything was intentional in this shot. Like you could tell that it was positioned around and like it wasn't just a first snapshot that he saw. Now this shot, even though it's cut off right in the middle, it's not like the other photo books where it was cut off in the middle right where the body shape was happening. In this case, it's all straight, so it isn't that distracting because there's nothing curving and making them look wider or making them look disformed. In this case, it really works well and it isn't too distracting. The fact that it's cut in the middle doesn't distract me. These white borders, I see them doing it a lot in this photo book. Not 100% sure why. This image could have been a little bit better, just a little bit better. As you can see, the water is reflecting light onto her feet, making the image right here a little bit too bright for my taste. Maybe grabbing a brush over here, kind of darkening it a little bit would have helped, but I think there's some blown out spots where it's not fixable. Maybe if you take the aperture up a little bit, adding it a little bit more darkness to the picture, that way you could actually bring back those highlights. I'm getting too technical. Now, this one had potential to be my favorite image. This one right here, I feel like if this blue guy wasn't standing there and this red girl wasn't standing there, it could have been really good. They distract way too much with their vibrant colors, and especially since it's that hallway, kind of like we've seen in Iukoto Erika's book and in Shiraishi's book, they did something similar to this, and I think it always works out really well. I've really gotten inspired by those photographers, and this one just adds to it because it's that whole like standing right in the middle with the shallow depth of field and everything leading towards where you are, but not in the foreground, in the background. But since you're part of the picture, it's like everything just adds together and makes it look really good. But in this case, I think this blue and this red kind of distract a little bit too much for my taste. Another good one is this one right here. Now the reason why I say it's good is because this one actually took some work to take. This isn't like a walking behind you and a turn around kind of picture. This one's like a you stand over there and I got this great idea to go to this random building. I'm going to take a picture down with you, with all the people, and I'll shoot through these flowers, making it look a little bit more 3D. And it comes out for a great image. Honestly, I think this is a good spot for her because it's kind of like in between all the flowers. Again, a lot of thought went into this. Standing here, I think thinking about it is actually the best thing to do. Other than standing here in between these two flowers, but then these flowers would be a little distracting. Standing right in between over here, I think was an excellent choice. This one right here, I really don't like. It looks honestly like a stock image. And not that stock image photographers are bad, but I mean, it looks very basic, where you do little tilts to make it look a little edgy, and then the highlights are a little too high. And I don't know, it just like seems a little cheesy to me, especially with the mixed lighting going around. It's not really a big thing for me. I mean, you see over here, you have the yellow light, and over here is the white light, and over here there's blue from like a different light. It's like all over the place for me. Now remember, this is from a photographer's perspective. This is from a fan's. I'd be going crazy over this image, but as a photographer, there's nothing really speaks to me, so that's why sometimes I don't include some photographs. This image right here is pretty cool, because this is like a, I don't know where the photographer's standing. I don't know if it's like in a different building, or, no, this is probably outside. I don't think this is like a second story, because I thought this was the roof for a second. It's not the roof. So I can see that he was standing outside. He ran outside. She peeked out the window. Comes out really cool because you're right at the edge of the sun. So then like all the edge lighting goes over here, all the sun goes over here, and it causes for some really cool lighting. Although you can't see the green cast from the grass on her face, which ideally isn't that good. This one right here, the focus is not on the important thing, it's on the thumb instead of being on the pinky toe. Now I'll be honest, when I saw this image previewed online, I thought, oh man, that image looks pretty bad. I don't know why people are hyped about it. But then, looking at it in person, in print, holding it in your hands, this image looks better than I thought, honestly. Having it here looks completely different than looking at it online. That's why I definitely recommend all of you guys to pick up the photo books that you're interested in. That way you get to see it and get to see a different perspective on it. Because honestly, I think it's like times 20 better looking at it in person. And I think I'm lowballing it. This one is actually pretty interesting because I haven't seen anything done like it. Usually you don't get this wide angle, and plus the empty beach really helps to this. I'm not 100% sure if anyone was edited out of these, but what I do know is that this causes for a really good image. Having these blue skies with the sand over here, like not at 50% but close to 50%. Kind of wish it was 50%, that way we get like half blue and half yellow, and a little splash of green over here. It kind of looks painterly. But this image is pretty cool actually. It's a little different, and I think I like it. It causes attention to her, but at the same time you enjoy all the scenery around her. This image right here, I have to say, I really like the lighting. It's her in the shade, and then all the lighting is coming from in front of her, causing this really nice kind of like butterfly lighting. You can see over here the shadow under the chin, kind of like how my lighting is right now. You see this shadow under the chin. It's a really nice butterfly lighting, and I mean, it's a big source, so all around it's like evenly lit, but it still has those shadows that add drama to the picture. And I mean, even this one right here, you can see it's similar lighting, and even in the eyes you can see the reflection of the sun around her and where the light is coming from. It kind of looks almost fake because I don't see the photographer in the eyes, so it kind of leaves me suspicious, but you can see that like the reflection is there even in other images where you actually see the photographer. This image right here is actually done right where the cut is. Usually when I see these type of images, it's usually cut like at the waistline, so making it look a little weird, or like at the hip line, making it look even weirder. But in this case, at the bust, it's not too distracting because we could kind of see most of it over here, and this being only the shoulder area. If it was at the shoulder area, she would look kind of like amputee-ish. And I mean, not to mention the pose really accentuates her shape and everything. Oh, and another thing I like about this image is the fact they don't cut at the elbows or at the knees. Super good. I wish I had a little bit more space here, but nonetheless it's good. This image right here is actually pretty interesting. This is another one of those scenery images where you get to see all the background and small little her right there, and just adding to the image. Having it at this very closed aperture, you can actually see all the detail even from back here. I'm curious to see how it would work with a little bit more open aperture, kind of blurring out the windows a little. But I think this is interesting enough where it's perfectly fine. I mean, you can see how soft these shadows are right here. You can see there's no harsh shadows, so this must have been like a cloudy day or something. I mean, the posing, with it being symmetrical and everything, I mean, really adds to it. Now, I want to talk about these two images. I mean, why even do this? I mean, this one's right here in the middle, so then this one would have been window, and then person. I think that would look okay, but I mean, this looks worse than having this spread out. I don't know, I kind of just don't understand why they would put these two images, especially this one. This one doesn't really add anything. It's not even like establishing anything. I mean, at that point, just add this one big, or don't even include these then. But that's just me. I don't like these white spaces. That's really the biggest thing that irritates me. I mean, don't even get me started about Shiraishi's white space. I kind of wish these two images were a little different. I wish it was a little bit wider, kind of seeing the whole body, but holding the shoe like this, and the leg right here, and the other leg like that. I think that would have came out pretty interesting, like a little bit classic posing to it. Kind of showing like half the body over here. Doesn't really add anything to me. And I mean, this right here is more of a better image than this one in my opinion, just because this one tells a little bit more of a story to it. This over here, I want to mention something. The fact that this is blown out does not bother me. And that's because you see how close the window is. And when you're that close to the source of light, the light fades very rapidly. So the difference from like even right here to right here is like a stop of light. So, I mean, having this right here is only natural for it to happen. And the pose and everything makes up for it completely. I want to talk about real quick. If you look at the reflection of the eye, you can probably see this way better in person. But you see the photographer right there. And in the other image, you didn't see him. So I'm kind of weirded out by that. This one right here, I could kind of see what he was going for. But I don't think it worked out that well. The material of this nightgown is not thin enough to do this shooting through the dress with the light coming in back of her, kind of outlining the body. It could have worked if it was a different nightgown. This image, either A, the shutter speed is too slow, or B, it's blurry. I think I'm going to go for blurry because the front of the hairs right here are actually in focus. So I think it's the blur. This one right here I don't like. Maybe face towards the sun. That way you get the shape of the face and expose for the face a little. That way everything else is darker. But right here it's a little too distracting for me. I have to say this one's a fun image. And the fact that it's not shot landscape and it's shot portrait is really interesting to me because you can actually see all the details on the ceiling. And you see the bed and everything. And it just adds a whole nother element to this picture. And I really like that they did it this way. We got some running pictures, for Adidas right there. Sponsor me. What? Now these series of images are a little bit interesting because it's showing more of a tourist side to her. And this one, there's a cool motorcycle. Let me sit on it and let me show off a box. And this one over here. And now I'm pretending to ride the motorcycle. And there's her goofy laugh, which everyone likes. And this one kind of showing like, where is that place? Let me go look for it. Because I have this map and it kind of looks like a menu. But I imagine it's a map. So this is a nice series of images. Individually, none of them are super strong, maybe except for the lighting in this one. And maybe the posing for this one, it could be a little better, but I think it's perfectly fine. Then move on to this picture right here. I'm kind of interested to see what would happen if he shot it from more to the right. With this, shallow depth of field and everything. I'm curious to see if she could, her head could be in between the cars. And how the image would turn out. I'm sure there's a reason why he didn't do that. So I'll just leave it up to him and be like, okay, you know what you were doing. Because so far, it seems like he knows what he's doing. This is the collection of fun images right here. I think this one is my favorite. Then this one. Then this one. This one adds a little bit of silliness, juxtaposition. And this one, relating the shape to the other shapes is really interesting. Oh man, Sakurai, you better be careful. There's a guy right there. You're going to be in a scandal magazine. This one right here actually is pretty interesting to me. Because it kind of looks like it has the potential of being like maybe an album cover or a book cover, in fact. I think with a little bit more adjusting in the props and a little bit in the furniture, the wood, going to wood and the blue with the kind of like white dress, kind of like complement each other really and make for a really nice image. And I mean, even in this one, you get the wood and the blue. I think it really adds to it. If this wasn't here, I think, again, it could be potential as well. Now, I have a problem with this one, and it's that it's a wide-angle lens. And the reason is because, look, over here, it's all small. Over here, it's all big. It kind of like, I don't know, especially for people who like their face being small, this wide angle makes her face look huge, her thumb look bigger, and the rest of her body small. Now this one's a pretty interesting way to combat the regular, in the water shots that they usually do in these photo books. And that's, you don't show the reflection that much. It's pretty interesting, and in fact it focuses more on the body than it does on the reflection and how disformed the reflection makes it look. Although I kind of don't like the cropping on this one. The fact that she's all the way to the left and even cut off a little. This one would be the better image. Although the posing is a little cheesy. Look at this interview. Look how long it is. Dude, I don't have enough time to read that, especially with my low Japanese. One thing I really like that the photo book did, show other images. Excellent. Not super small like some other photo books we've seen. They also have little descriptions under them, kind of like explaining furthermore, which is super interesting. I wonder what would happen if they did that on a lot of the images, how they would look. But there are actually some really interesting images in here. I think this image right here is better than the other tiger one they had. This image right here of her like getting creeped out by the little fish eating at your feet is actually pretty interesting. And I think it would have been interesting to get her with the monkey. I think that would have been really funny. But then we move on to the last two images. And the last two images are actually pretty good. I think you could have ended off on this one, and I would have rated you way higher. This one isn't as strong. It's a little out of focus. This one is super good. This cut right here does not bother me at all. And the face, the pose, the environment, everything is pretty good. Maybe the fact that this is sharp, kind of blur that out a little. That way you get total focus on the face. And that has been Sakurai Reika's photo book. If you want to see more photo books, you can subscribe and be up to date with both the news, which I do weekly, Saturday mornings, and photo book critiques, which I usually do like at least once a month. Along with variety videos, which can be anything from me getting pie to the face to me taking dumb quizzes online about AKB. So be sure to share the video with all your Sakurai Reika / Nogizaka fan friends and let them know what I think about it, and share a discussion with them. Leave down in the comments what you think about the video and the photo book. I'd love to know your opinions. This has been Josh Box, and thank you all for watching. You can look at the other photo book critiques I did and many other AKB and Sakamichi series videos that I've done before.